The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
On this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr., we welcome back PBA Hall of Famer and one of the GOATs, Johnny's father, Johnny Petraglia Sr., to the show. On this day 31 years ago, Johnny Sr. bowled 300 on ABC television against Walter Ray Williams Jr. He also recently turned 78 years young on March 3rd. So much history on those two dates. We'll revisit some of those stories, and I am looking forward to hearing some stories that possibly have never been told before. It's going to be a ton of fun, so let's not waste any more time. Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. starts now.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop.
Hey y'all, Jacob Ledrup here.
Hey guys, Chuck Ritchie here, formerly of Bowl TV.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Schaefer of track staff at Valley Bowling Center in Waverly, New York.
And you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Yo, the boys from Straight Up 5, Rad Rob, Dr Ocho, and of course JP Jr.
As you know, JP Jr. used to be introduced as the sexiest man in bowling, and now the world. But he doesn't have the best hair in the world. I do. Sorry, bud, but you know the deal. Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation.
Strike, and they claim it. Similarly does it.
So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Happy birthday, dear Johnny. Happy birthday to you. All right, I don't want to get anybody sick, so I'm going to use the card to blow out the candles. Excellent, excellent. Look at that backswing.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. I am your host, Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Grilled chicken from Popeyes, grilled chicken. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is episode 148. We have a return guest, a very special guest. He gave birth to the sexiest man alive. Well, he didn't actually give birth. He created half of. I'm sorry, Pat. All right, the show sucks already, guys. Who we got here in the chat? I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Derek Michaud, what's going on, brother? Pete Cow's in the house. What's up? What's up? Hello, Valerie. Yes. Happy belated birthday to the GOAT. Stan Young's in the house. What's going on, brother? Billy M is here. We have so many others. But we first have to bring in who's going to tell me anatomically that Johnny Petraglia did not give birth to his son. So let's bring in the man with the golden mask, the resident doctor, Straight Up 5, the house hack from Howell Lanes, straight out of Ochoville. It is the one and only Dr. Ocho. What's going on, Och?
Why are you doing the screen like that? Oh, there we go. All right, I know.
I late too big. Yeah, everything's fucked up.
It's Mardi Gras week. I can't believe you recognize me. I'm Ocho Incognito Ocho. I'm Incognito Ocho. And Rob, I was just thinking, why don't we?
You were thinking, great.
Can't we change, like every time I hear, oh, that chicken from Popeyes, I want to think of, where the fuck is my neck? And if we can, somebody get to the department, the Eli, Let's get Eli back.
Okay. Eli! Yeah, we'll get
No one's
on
going to know what that means. It doesn't
Nobody knows
matter.
what
Ocho's here.
6 to 8 people know what that means.
And at least, the president of the Ochoites, should we give him a shout? Give him a shout out. Shit, I forgot his name again.
Babo, president of the
Give
Ocho,
Babo a shout out.
who's not watching this show, but that's fine.
He's the only one who means, you'll tag him on the X gimmick, and he's still around. It don't matter. Anyway, yeah, the show doesn't suck, Rob. You suck. That's all. When you say the show sucks, it's terrible. That's a perfect picture on what we bring. Yes, you did suck. Let's start the show.
Happy birthday, Nicole.
Happy birthday, Nicole, with JT.
Let's bring in the man with the name of the marquee, number 7 in the program, number 1 in your hearts. Actually, he's not everyone's favorite, Johnny. I think his dad might actually. Should we get a poll going? Who's the most famous Petraglia or popular Petraglia?
I didn't know there was I don't think they're competing for that.
They are now. So.
Oh, you decided.
Yeah. All right. I'll get a poll up.
Now the show does suck, Rob. You're right. You did. Now you hold true.
Finally,
one of the facts you finally wrote out anatomically.
I am discombobulated. He is Johnny Petraglia. Don't call me Junior. What's going on, Junebug?
It's no question I have the more storied career, and I'm way, way more famous than Dad.
So well, define the word career.
Yeah, which career?
To be honest, that's a loaded question. Because
golf career? Actually, you're a better golfer, right? Or is he the better golfer?
Now I'm the better golfer. But growing up,
guy's 78. That's really kind of
he was always a good golfer. But I think I've recently passed him.
How about Scrabble? You guys go at it at Scrabble, or
the truth? That's one game we never really played.
Of course, sure.
At least I didn't. Yeah. Never. I know that Dad. We can ask Dad about that. I know he played a lot of chess. I believe with my grandfather, his late father. But no, growing up for us, it was just baseball, bowling. And that was, we played a lot of gin in our house with my grandparents, so I got to be a pretty decent gin player.
Ocho won the chess tournament in 7th grade, crushing everybody. Ocho won the chess tournament.
Bill Dono Jr., what's going on? Welcome to the show.
But yeah, this, Rob, like you said in the intro, between Dad's birthday on Monday and today being the 31st anniversary of the 100 grand at Imperial Lanes, I figured it's been a while since Dad's been here, so it would be nice to have him back on. And, not take up too much of his time tonight. I know he's probably looking forward to some ice cream and a good movie. But
I don't blame him.
I wanted to get him in here to kind of just, revisit what it was like. And, so do what you got to do. Without further ado.
Oh, no, sorry, wrong button.
I do.
I'm all messed up tonight, I'm telling you. Nico, you are late. I was late, but you're actually late, too.
Yeah, he's all messed up.
See what's going on. Nico's usually the first one here. We had a freezer in the garage. Grabbed the bed. I fucking hate it when the freezer grabs my bed. That's not good. All right, so we can make your dad wait even longer. I have a 15-minute presentation. No, I'm just kidding. It's like 5 minutes.
Perfect.
I do want to give a little highlight package just for the anniversary of his 300 game.
His compressor probably froze because he didn't unplug it in the freezing weather. That's what happened with Nico there. That's what.
Yeah, sorry, Nico. Thoughts and prayers go out to Nico and his freezer. And let's get into the highlights of Mr. Johnny Petraglia Sr.'s 300 game on ABC 31 years
definitely
ago.
The 300.
Today.
Most excited I've ever been. And excited for a lot of reasons. Being unexpected, I was 47, came late in my career. But the backstory of the 300 is really special. I had been coaching Michael J. Fox in a movie. And in the movie, he's trying to make the TV show. He's playing a bowler in the movie Greedy. And he's trying to make the TV show. And he's in 5th place going into the last game. And I'm in the movie in 8th place. And I shoot 289 in the movie to go from 8th to 5th and knock him off the show. The movie is released on Friday, March the 3rd, which is also my birthday, okay? And going into the last game, I'm in 8th place, and for real, as the movie is premiering in the theaters. And I shoot 279 to make the show. go from 8th to 5th, which is really scary. And in the next game, it was, I got to go better at this game because I'm older Walter Ray. And when Walter sort of loses the ball and hits light and leaves the split and then gets 9 out, I remember thinking to myself, he only can bowl 267. If he leaves 1 ring in 10 somewhere in the middle, it's 246. I figure he's going to get wrapped once. I need 247. That's exactly what my brain thought.
And then, of course, Johnny Petraglia. I met him, way back when. And I remember watching him on TV when I was about 11, 12, when I first got into bowling. And, just remember that, when he was bowling so well in 71. And then, of course, when I bowled him in 1994 at the PBA National, he bowls 300 against me on TV. So I get lots of reminds about that. And then my current wife, she has the same birthday with Johnny, so she's got a little bit of affinity for Johnny. He's her favorite pro, and she kind of giggles when she's around him, and that kind of stuff. And it's very interesting, because Johnny is such an icon with the PBA and been past president, and just what he's done in bowling and even off the lanes and stuff.
But now I'm in the 230s, and if I can stay clean, I'm in the 230s, which means he's got to go off the sheet. And so you start feeling confident now because mathematics come into it. There's, he can only bowl what he can bowl, no matter how great he is. And then that's what I'm thinking here. The last thing, by the way, that I'm thinking about right now is 300. Okay,
right.
You're thinking about advancing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about beating Walter. And now I throw that 6th one, and I'm in the 240s, which means if I mark out, he's got to strike out. It was the night before on dinner with Larry Lickstein, and that I had made the show, and we're talking about the show, and however the subject came up, it was, we started talking about, what first place is and stuff. And I said, my kids are 9 and 3. And, we're talking to the accountant about college. And he's explaining that, if your son goes to, he says, let's just say it's a medium college with no scholarship. He said that it's going to cost $168,000. I might have it backwards. $168,000 for one of your kids and $127,000 for the other. And I'm looking at Lickstein and I'm going, $300,000. Where are you going to get the money to put somebody through to college unless they're getting some kind of big scholarship? And Lickstein says, well, a good start would be if you bowl 300 on the show tomorrow, and we both laughed about that.
He had a good feeling coming into this round, and that feeling can only get better from here with perfection. There it is. 300 for John Petraglia. Here at the PBA 50 National Championship to benefit Riley Hospital for Children.
I'd like to recognize great PBA champion that he is, a past winner here at Riviera Lanes Tournament of Champions, great ambassador for the PBA and for bowling. Johnny Petraglia, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, the players are through 18 games here at Riviera Lanes. We are advancing.
I absolutely adored that. Not only did he bury his last shot on the national tour, but he walked it off too. That's what a better way to end.
Goosebumps, dude!
Right?
I had goosebumps when it hit.
That was pretty amazing. So let's not waste more.
Before you bring him in, I'm the most selfish human being here because this was just a friend of mine. I didn't know all this shit happened, and then I learn it through time. Like
It's literally the funniest story ever. Like,
you guys know who I am. I forgot. Sorry. And it's the damnedest thing is now I'm seeing all this shit and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And it's terrible because I missed it, but I still get to go rewatch it and live it now. And let's bring this freaking legend in.
I hope you brought some nachos for him.
He already punched him. He already chopped him. He chopped the nachos. He came in over my shoulder with a freaking nacho chop.
Let's bring in the one and only PBA Hall of Famer, the father of Johnny Petraglia Jr., who did not give birth to him, one and only JP Sr. What's going on, JP? Thanks for being here.
Very good.
You like your intro there, Dad?
Hell of an intro, JP.
Yeah, what's the hell of an intro right there? That was pretty cool.
Well, thank you.
That was great stuff. Yeah.
So, how are you, man? It's been a few years since you've been on the show.
I'm doing okay. Things are good, and it's nice seeing that again. And there, you covered a lot of the backstory, but there's more backstory to that to show that it's it's a really special day. It's almost like karma was in existence.
You couldn't write that. Are you kidding me? I mean, especially, and I didn't even know that part either. And I got a trapdoor memory. I honestly don't remember that part from even just us goofing off. But that's pretty damn wild too. It's like theater is reality at this point.
Yeah, it is pretty strange. What the thing was that I hadn't been bowling very well the last couple of weeks because I was coaching Michael J. Fox for the movie. And then when I got to Toledo for the national championship and got out there to bowl the practice session, Freddie Borden, who's one of the best coaches in the game, noticed something in my game that was wrong, and he had me correct it. And from that point on, the rest of the week went really great. But the first thing that happened was near the end of the practice session. The lanes were really hooking a lot. You had to play way in. I was in as far as about I can get when I'm up against the ball return. And Ray Edwards, our player rep on tour, comes up to me and he hands me a Forest Green Quantum. And when you measure the measurement of the grip all the way around half of the ball, it's almost like an 8 or a 9 pin hole that you were allowed to have back then. And he says, throw this ball, and I throw it, and the ball practically hooks off the lane. It goes from the fourth arrow out to the gutter and across. And I said, Ray, what am I going to use this ball for? He says, you never know. Put this ball in your bowling bag in the paddock and make it part of your arsenal because you never know when you might need it. So that was the first really special thing that happened.
But JP, were people hooking it? The lefties weren't hooking it that much back then either, were they? Like, this was kind of an anomaly, or were the lefties up against the ball return at times also?
Well, this was,
like 94-ish, I think you're saying.
Yeah, in Toledo, it was a surprise because Toledo wasn't really great on the left. It's not that there was anything wrong on the left, but the righties could get so locked in on the track.
Yeah, that right. They had their area.
Yeah, Burton used to kill that place, and Kurt Schmidt won his first PBA title. Everybody going up to 10 board, and Earl, because he could go so straight, was bowled on that pair very well also. So to make the show in that place was a nice big surprise.
It was a tough do already.
Yeah, and then so now. About 10 minutes before airtime, the lanes still don't know today what this happened, carried down the wrong way or whatever, but the lanes kept getting tougher and tougher and tougher, and all of a sudden, everybody on the show is losing their back end. What used to hook toward the pocket is not hooking toward the pocket. And I'm in the first match against Eric Forkel. Eric Forkel.
I just watched it, so now I got it.
It's Eric Forkel, and I'm throwing my shots, and I was throwing a Purple Rhino Pro most of the week, and all of a sudden that ball is just skating 60 feet. It's doing nothing, and Ray Edwards is there, and I'm in the first match, so there's only a couple of more shots left for practice,
Johnny, real quick, when you say doing nothing, you're hitting light. You can't get it to hit face up.
Yeah.
Like you're washing out almost every time ish.
I can't get it to finish anymore like I was.
So you're deflecting. Okay. Yeah. Amateur style for Ocho.
So was everybody else. Everybody else.
No one's got an advantage.
Yeah. And then Ray Edwards comes up to me and says, where's the Forest Green Quantum? I said, it's in the locker room. And he turns around. He knows where my equipment is in the locker room. We're on 27 and 8. Locker room's behind 59 and 60. And he runs down there, grabs the ball, comes running back. And by the time he hands me the bowling ball, the tournament director says, one more shot on each lane, gentlemen. So I got one shot on the left lane, one shot on the right lane.
Oh, man.
Ray Edwards tells me, move way in, get your feet as close to 40 as you can. Try and look at 20, 21, 22, right around there. And I throw the first practice shot, and it reacts pretty good. And when I get on the other lane, the same thing happens. And Ray says, start from there. That's where you should play the pair. And the first game, I shoot 230 against Eric, who bowls 180. And simply because he couldn't get the ball to hook, and I'm the only one with the hook. So now I got to bowl Walter Ray, and when I'm bowling Walter Ray, I'm trying to say, okay, I can't make any mistakes in this game. Walter Ray is not only bowling great every week, but he never misses the pocket when he's not bowling great. Just so you know, you can't make any mistakes. And when I started, I threw a strike, and then Walter got up, and in the first frame he marked, and then he didn't strike. I think he might not have struck in the second frame. I'm not sure, but when he has to get up in the third frame, he loses the ball off his hand just a little bit, and because it doesn't finish, and he hits light, he leaves the left hand.
Weird split. It was a weird kind of split, wasn't it?
He left the left-hander's baby split.
Oh, the 2-7 is what it was. That's right.
He actually left it in the second frame because he started the match. So he struck.
He struck in the first frame on a high hit. I just watched it, and
he gets up.
Tripped the 4, I think, right?
Yeah, he trips the 4 in the first frame, and then he loses it in the downswing that second frame and leaves the lefty's baby split and misses it.
And they even show, once Burton mentions that, they even show a replay of it, and you could see him lose the ball right at the bottom.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad I just watched this because you got this. See, I would never. It does. It lands. It starts so early and has nothing on it. It's a rollout, really, is what it wound up doing.
It had no, and like Walter's, but one thing is he always got through it he gets through it at the bottom
comes out of his
single time.
Always, right. Yeah. So he leaves that and he doesn't make it, and all of a sudden it's like, the best he can bowl is 226, 227, something like that, and it's. At least I got a number now. I'm figuring if he can let one solid 10 the rest of the game, that's 240. He's in the 240s, and so I got my number. I got to shoot 246, 247. That's how I'm looking at it. And when Walter, he threw a double later in the early part of the game, and then went high and made a spare. And now the best he can bowl is 226, and I'm already in the 230s by that time, and it's the first time that it entered my head, I'm not going to lose this game. It's the first time that totally entered my head that I could bowl 300 on this pair because I got such a nice shot. And everything went great after that. And I ended up shooting the 300. And because I was talking with Lickstein the night before, as you guys mentioned early, saying where we're going to come up with the money for college, and Lickstein was the one that said, well, you can start with 200, bowl 300 on the show tomorrow, and you got $100,000 to start it off. And so my whole brain is thinking, so many strikes to 300, so many strikes to college.
How doesn't your ass pucker at that point, though? Now that you're thinking about it, and I remember you told me this. Goofing off after the Cleaners League one night when you said that you bowled the 278 and you said, 298. I'm sorry, guys. It was a 298 in 1978.
Yeah, in the late set against Roth.
So, and Gary Dickinson, right? I think it was.
Yeah.
And
no,
you said,
I bowled.
You said, I'll never do that again.
Yeah,
that was against Mark Roth. In,
Mark! Oh shit!
78 Long Island Open.
Yeah,
he beat Dickinson to win the Triple Crown national championship at Sunnybrook Lanes in 1980 in Sterling.
That's probably what I was watching.
Yeah.
I was trying to catch up, man.
That's
Trying to act like I
okay.
knew what I was doing. I'm Ocho, damn it.
So when it got closer and closer to the 300, the more the 300 came into my head, and that's when you start thinking I can make $100,000 here to get college started. It was just one of those kind of feelings. And the other thing is that it entered into my head slowly. I mean, very little, but I had no idea when I shot the 298 against Roth how much pressure there was going to be on me in the on the 12th shot, and I had really nervous there. This time it was when I was getting up in the 11th frame. It was that should you throw this strike, be prepared for the amount of pressure you're going to feel. I said if I strike, I'll know it in advance and I'll be able to deal with it. And that's pretty much what happened when I let the last one go. And the other thing is when you're playing way inside, you don't have to worry about I'm too close to the gutter. I don't want to throw a gutter ball on TV for 300. For 300.
You let it out and
you
let
got
it play.
a chance to, just trust it because it's not going in the gutter. Give it room and that all those kind of thoughts, which you should never do, were coming into my head, and it doesn't matter. It worked out okay. But the part of the backstory of the 300 is there's a couple of different things that are very important. We had the Johnny Petraglia Open the following week in Carolier, and the next day the TV show, John is bowling in the Junior Pro-Am, and I'm supposed to bowl with the not only the Junior Pro-Am, I'm supposed to bowl with the veterans in their bowling for we would have them with doubles partners. And they literally stopped and went into the bar to watch the second game when I shot the 300. And then Phil Mushnick, who wrote for the New York Post, says unfortunately the ABC cameras were in the wrong place, because to watch 12 guys come out of their wheelchairs was the greatest thing that he ever saw, and the only people that ever saw it was the ones that were watching the show in the bar. If that was pretty cool.
I still remember you coming home that the week after for the JP Open after that 300. It was the welcome that had to be even probably better than bowling the 300 was coming home to Carolier the next week, where that's like your cathedral. It's where the house that Ruth built, but it's the house that Johnny built. Yeah. To have that had to be the big. Not to mention Michael J. Fox was there, but what kind of? Do you remember how great it felt? I mean, coming home and every single person just embracing what you had just done.
Dude, you're like the Beatles at that point. I mean,
it's a tremendous feeling. I had to leave Toledo to try to get home in time. I drove for a few hours and I stopped when I first got into Pennsylvania, about 50 miles in, got a room and slept for 4 hours. I got to sleep at like 4 a.m. and I woke up at midnight to get back on the road to get to the lanes in time to watch John bowl in the Pro-Am. I think we were on 45. He was on 45 and 6. He was 9 years old bowling in the Pro-Am, and
it was.
And then I really wanted to be there to my dad showed up kind of thing. I don't want to go someplace else when he's bowling in the Pro-Am. But other things that happen, one of the great things that happened is as the show ended in Toledo, and I know a lot of people know this now, but this was a great moment in my life, I guess.
Tell the White House story next, too, by the way.
That's exactly what I was going to tell you.
Good. I have to run to the restroom. I'm still here, but keep going, Dad.
Okay.
I remember you telling me this on a Wednesday. It was the best thing I ever heard.
Yeah, what happens is the lady behind the desk says, "Line 4 is for you." She says, "It's the White House." And I said, "No, it isn't. It's a prank call. Don't worry about it, man. Just hang up." And And she goes, no, they're very insistent that this is the White House. This isn't a prank call. And I said to the lady behind the desk, I said, listen, I said, Bill Clinton isn't watching the Pro Bowlers tour. And when we're hardly even off the air, the phone call rings and you think that it's the president on the other end. It's not possible. Don't even worry about it. And the lady says, she goes, well, you're probably right. She goes, however, in case you're not, I'm not going to be the one to hang up on the president of the United States. I felt really bad when she said that. And I said, okay, I'll take the call. And when I take the call, I said, hi, this is John. And on the other end, the guy says, John, my name is Joe Cirillo, and I own the White House Tavern in Chicago. And he goes, and you don't know us from Adam, but the whole bar is going nuts. And we just had to call you and congratulate you on the 300 game, which for me was a lot better than getting a call from Bill Clinton.
Fake ass call from somebody.
Yeah, really.
It was that the people would even think that much to try to get through on the show was really a great moment in my life. It was terrific. That's the one thing I was like, holy shit, this is like the real deal. That was we were hamming it up that night, man. The setup, because you purpose the White House and all this, and it was so freaking fun to hear about how and look at who you affected everybody. Like I'm so pissed that I missed it all. I'm pissed that I had to rewind the whole thing and find it. Remember, you let me the tape? And you're like, whatever you do, don't let your VCR eat that damn tape. When you think about all of the things that happened during that whole time, where Freddie Borden's not there and helps me win my game.
Yep.
Ray Edwards isn't there and on his own recognizance decides to drill the ball. It's in the locker room. He runs there all the way back. If that ball's not there, any one of those things happen.
Such divine intervention.
300 never happens. No doubt about it. That's and then when then Darryl Ducat, who was the center, the owner of the center, he had sent to the back, if John strikes on the 12th shot, he told his mechanic in the back, take the 12 balls out of the rack and take the 12 pins out of the rack. And after the show is over, he gives me the 10 pins. And when I got them at home, it was, as time went by, what do I do with these 10 pins? And at that time, my wife was working in a trophy place. And I said, we should make a trophy out of the 10 pins. And so there was a pin to Pat, my wife, to my son John, and to my daughter Jamie. And those were 3 of the pins. And then the other 7 went to the people that led up to the pins happening. So they were special because it was the 3 proprietors that let me bowl for free, which was a very big thing. Burton, who was there calling the whole thing. Schenkel, but Schenkel at that time, by the time I got the pins done, had passed away. But that's where the other 7 pins went, and I feel really good about that because they were emotionally pretty happy to get that, and it was.
How has Netflix not made this a documentary? Like seriously, like the backstory. The forward after, I mean, this is serious. This is like
your birthday 2 days before, which the movie hits at number 8. I mean, it's
and plus, and then the trophy stuff. I mean, that's even it's a full circle story. This is the freaking theater that people love about this, man. This is like it's not a guy shot at 300. It's the entire story.
And late in your career too.
And
very late in the career, and then it was. Like so I said, you believe in God, this is what happens. It was just a really special.
Dad, what it did for me on the other.
In case they didn't realize it and anybody asked the question, both John and Jamie graduated college, which is pretty important.
For Ace True Value Hardware.
You can thank them. Yeah, that really had a lot to do with it.
And honestly, Dad, for me, the cool thing, remember, this is 1994. So, like, I don't even know if AOL is out yet or if it was out for a couple years.
It just started in its inception, but it wasn't like we didn't have internet yet.
Right.
I think 95
about 96-ish.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any way of knowing really what was going on in the tournament. Now you got to remember, I'm 9 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Dad's most historical part of his career was before my time. And the few shows that he did make prior to 94, I was too young to really even be into bowling. But I got into bowling around the age of, like, really seriously, like I think I joined my first junior league maybe when I was 7 or 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm 9 years old, and I remember sitting on the living room couch and the phone ringing on Friday night, and I hear my mom yell from the kitchen, "You're fifth?" And I didn't know what that meant at first. And then she
do the accent. Hold on, do the accent.
"You fifth?"
There we go.
It kind of sounded like that. Yeah. And I remember her coming into the living room and telling me Dad was going to be on ABC tomorrow. And it was right when they introduced like the new intro with the guy that sang the song with a little bit of the rock and roll beat, and they ran out through the fake smoke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
And this was like, I'm watching this and I'm like, that's my dad. And I'm 9 years old. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life in that moment.
And it's national broadcast. It's literally ABC. National syndicate.
The lead into Wide World Sports.
Wide World of Sports. The damn steer falling down at the end, and then here he is. He shows up.
It was just incredible. And then the following week, to go and bowl the tournament itself. In fact, I finished 25th. I missed the finals by one guy, and then and it was just a special week. Everything about it was a special week.
And then the guest we had on last week, that we had on Leto Monticelli last week, the following week after that, Bo Burton makes the show in Sayville, and you're the guest commentator.
And I'm the commentator, yeah.
March 94 was a pretty good month.
No shit, right?
You would say that. At least a week was wonderful. 2 weeks, There have been some...
that week is a lifetime for people, though, man. That's what's amazing.
Yeah, it was really special. It's one of those things, you're lucky in life. So many people don't get that opportunity, that whether it's in sports or what it may be, and that it's so unexpected and means so much. It's and today when you watch a golf tournament, $100,000 finishes 50th in the tournament, but that doesn't.
Right. I think it's like 150th at this point now.
Yeah, seriously.
That doesn't matter. It's what happened to you. That's the greatest. And when you're watching sports, and then you realize that let's say baseball, for instance, and you go back to the 1950s with the Dodgers and the Yankees, where the Yankees won the World Series every year, and you say, what they were getting paid should they win the World Series was maybe $15,000. That doesn't matter. It's the ring on their finger at that time. That ring is so important, much more important than the money. And things like that happen today. My Triple Crown ring is very, very important. And I have battles with people. They go, well, why isn't it in the trophy case in your house? And it's like, it's too valuable. That's why it's in the safety deposit box.
Oh, shit.
And they go, no, you got to let everybody.
There's only a few of them in the world.
And so it has become, one of those kind of things. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to get it out of there or not. I'll have to think about it. We'll see.
Robert Lawrence is here. What's going on, brother? He says he was working in one of the two ABC Sports trucks that day, the 300. They were going nuts, but they still had to do their job. The guy who was right was in charge of the replays, and he was scrambling to get all the different angles of the final shot. That's a cool story.
Oh, wow. That is great. Yeah.
Johnny, what was the was it the 11th shot that you tripped out the 9?
The headpin came off the wall and tomahawked the 9.
It was still buried. But were you worried? I'm not. I can't pick your brain now. Were you worried? Of course you weren't worried.
It happened so fast.
That's why I did.
Off the wall so fast. I didn't even have time to think about it.
as you're watching, I'm like, I wonder if he's thinking, oh, it's going just a teensy bit high. I'm not sure, but like, no, it came through, and it's still. The other thing is from a lefty throwing, we don't because they always have the righty view.
Right.
Our angle's a little skewed still, right? Like, is that?
Yeah, it is. You don't get the same kind of perspective when you watch
where
it.
we see if it's half or a whole pocket or something like that.
Right.
So, but you're right. It did. It was a. I just remember seeing a pin there, and all of a sudden it disappeared.
Yeah, and I fell over the cables of TV cables. I ran it out so far, and it was like, how did I get here? Kind of thing. And then, after the strike in the 12th, Lichstein almost killed me. He almost ended my career.
Oh, he gave you a freaking he gave you a double clothesline. It looked like.
Yeah, it was.
I think he just want to show off his suit. I think that's what it was.
Just one of those moments in life that. You'll never, ever forget whatsoever. And there's been 4 or 5 times like that where after it's over, you say, you know what? Not too many people ever get to feel like this in their life. How lucky it is to happen. The dollar amount is not the issue. It's the moment of the importance of what this shot is. And that, well, let me put it this way. In 1970, I had this really young team in the ABCs. Back then, it wasn't the USBC yet. And going into the team is bowling great, and our team is so young. It's Ernie Schlegel, Larry Lichstein, and Butch Gearhart, and myself, and Mike McGrath. And when Mike McGrath gets up in the 10th frame, he needs a mark for us to win the ABCs, and he misses the headpin and he leaves the 139. And when he shot the spare, when he let it go, it looked like ball's going to hook away. We're going to lose. But the ball straightened out and he ended up making the spare. And now we each have a gold eagle. It was just that time. Hell, I didn't even know what the money was worth. It didn't matter, And 2 years later, we won again. We just gelled real well as a team. So I have 2 eagles, and those eagles are extremely special to me. That you get a chance to get in that position to bowl for them. That first year, we're bowling against one of the great teams of the day. Back then it was. The Budweisers were tremendous, what Carter and Weber and Bluth and all of them. And the team that we're bowling, the Falstaffs, that's, you're going back to Buzz Fazio and the Salvino and the rest of the team then. And we're these young kids. The oldest on the team was Ernie at 24. And we're bowling all these legends. And so the sport itself creates situations that make you love it, really make you love the sport. And the one thing that'll always happen is unless you're zero, unless every choke shot, every important shot you didn't strike or didn't win the game or whatever, that hurts. But if you've been there a few times and was successful a few times, like the 10th team to win the Nationals and to complete the Triple Crown is when I watched the video of that, I can't believe how excited I got. It overcame me. That how much it felt to do that. The 6th decade, I had to strike out in the 10th, and that was one of those other moments that just will stay with me the rest of my life. Okay. All right, guys, you can start talking a little bit here.
No, we're just sitting back, listening, sitting under the learning tree. It's great. We love to hear your stories.
Yeah.
We usually talk too much anyway. We're actually enjoying listening.
Absolutely. No, 47 years old, JP, and you're shooting 300 on TV. At that point, you already had a Hall of Fame career. You'd won so many titles. That was really that's like the last thing you've honestly could have done to just cement that legacy and say, I did it all.
That's when it really hits you. Like I never expected this was going to happen. I didn't expect this was coming and all that. And it was really amazing the day on the 300 day, the day after that, and to get to the lanes as quick as possible, to watch John bowl, and then to stay there the whole day because I had to sign a bunch of autographs, and then to have Michael J. Fox come and be there when we're introducing the pro celebrities that are there. It's just you say, it can't get any better than this. This is
really
as good as it gets.
Yeah, it really can. I mean, it's man.
Well, let me put it this way. I guess this would be a great way to put it. In it was 1966. I bowled my very first. It was 65. I bowled my very first PBA event, and I got a check. And the second one, they had to film it in advance because there was something in skiing in the Alpine events, and that the whole ABC team had to be there. And so they filmed us in advance that was going to show as part of the tour, and which was my actual. It was in Denver, Colorado.
Was this still Wide World of Sports, Johnny? Even back then, because I don't even know when it started, honestly.
Oh yeah.
And
okay, so because they would do tape delayed, and they would try to structure it all.
Yeah, they had it
and all that. Yeah, right.
They had to do something that they had to film it and put it in the box because they had to all go to Europe, and so I end up making the top 16, and only 16 guys made the finals then. And I guess it was like the third or fourth game of the morning block when you're bowling head to head. I'm bowling Dick Weber, and I'm sitting there on the bench, and Weber's air in his hand, getting ready to bowl the next frame. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, I'm 18 years old, and I'm on the PBA tour, and I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I made the finals. And now I'm bowling Dick Weber. And then out of my mouth, without even realizing I said it, I went, does life get any better than this? It's just, and Weber hears that, smiles, turns around, looks at me. It was something. And that's how great it was then.
Well, put it in perspective, though. I mean, like, we're taking our SATs and whatnot, like at 7, you know what I mean? Like,
you're bowling the best in the world.
And you're the guy who founded the PBA or whoever did with him, but like, and you're there.
Elias, yeah.
That's
what what made it. And then when you watch sports today, I think I have an affinity in my heart because I realize those things that are important to me on different sports at different levels. It's. When I'm watching bowling, I understand what Belmonte and AJ Tackett are going through right now and how wonderful life is. But I also know what it's like for Michaela Schifrin to win her 100th Alpine event and kick in everybody's ass, male or female, on the slopes, and what she must be going through. She's not 30 yet. And so you get an idea of what she's going through, and it makes it, really exciting. And love the game, and the game created my life. And I've had a very lucky life.
Hey, regardless of bowling, don't you think they should bring back the Wide World of Sports? Or are there too many channels now that probably cover everything? Like,
probably. Well, it was, ABC, when we lost ABC for a number of reasons, which aren't totally ABC's fault. It's a little bit of both.
Johnny Jr. 97-ish, I think it was?
1997 was the final year for ABC.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? And it was
97 St. Clair Classic was the last show on ABC.
I remember Pete and Walter, I think, bowled on it, right?
Yeah, that was a title match, and Walter wound up winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last show that we had with Schenkel and Bo,
the voice of God,
that was something. And it's if you love the game, you love watching it. It's and if you love sports, you love watching them. It's been great being a part of it. And if I go all the way back to the thing was that I went on tour in 66, so 65, and in 66 I win. So that's where the 6 decades come from, because it's very hard to win when you're in your teens, to win six decades.
And in your 60s, by the way.
But then as I got involved with BVL and then going to visit vets, without to make a long story short, then I get hooked up with Jesse Owens, who, maybe the athlete of
Jesse Owens in Munich, was
the
it
greatest
Berlin?
Olympian ever. Yeah,
the Olympian, who won the 4 gold medals in SmackDown Hitler.
In Berlin. Oh my God! Holy shit! I didn't fucking know this.
All right, so I got to go visit VA hospitals with him. We were partners because they felt that if they don't if they don't relate to me as a vet, or they don't relate to him as an athlete, they'll relate to one or the other. Each one's going to work. So it worked out great. Plus, Jesse Owens had been doing it since, the end of World War II and the Korean War. So there was a lot to learn from him on the way to talk to patients and act towards him and stuff. And he was just a great guy. And it takes a while to sink in that, wait a minute, you visited hospitals with Jesse Owens?
No shit!
That you realize the more and more that you know about him, what a wonderful person he was, and how much it helped my life in helping the vets. Yeah.
That is so cool. Did you ever get to meet Muhammad Ali?
No, it's funny. I met a lot of boxers, but I never met Ali, and I'm obviously he changed boxing. He trained, the people. It was funny. That's a great question, because people. When I just did a thing on what's the difference between a champion and a legend, and the legends are the ones that are champions along the way, and by the time their careers are over, they've transcended the sport, and that's where Muhammad Ali would come in. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jackie Robinson, they transcended their sport. And bowling, each one had its own piece. In the early 1900s, it was Jimmy Smith, and then later on, Vera Papa and Marion Ladderwig. They all have transcended their sport. But you not only have to do that to become a legend, you also, your character and what you've meant to not just your game, but just to the population, I guess would be the best word for it. That you want to make sure that you try to leave something positive for the people behind you to come with, and that's where the legend comes in, with a little bit more than just a champion.
That's a great point. I mean, there's plenty of bowlers that have won, countless, 10, 20, 30 titles, and are fantastic, greatest bowlers of all time, but that might be the only thing that they're known for. No, you're right. And especially you with your work with BVL, giving back to the bowling community for so many years, especially, with your work at Brunswick. I mean, you're one of the pioneers of Brunswick. So, I mean, you've given back to the sport that you love. And causes that you believe in, and that, in my mind, just by your own definition, that does make you a legend. So, I mean, you are to be commended for the work you've done over the years for the community and for the veterans.
But I do know, there's a ton of bowlers that have a lot better records than me, and my fortunate thing was that the special things that happened to me in bowling happened at special moments, and that's when you realize that. Something different is happening here. I guess probably the perfect example was when the LT-48 was coming out with my name on it, because the LT-48 had existed already. But when Brunswick was going to put my name on it, it was going to come out at the start of the winter tour in 1977. And at the very last minute, they changed their mind and said, instead of doing it on the first show, let's do this. We'll wait a month and put it in the U.S. Open, and instead that'll be the first show. So nobody knows what would have happened the first show of 1977, but later on that year in the U.S. Open, first time they're seeing the bowling ball go down the lane with my name on it, and I end up leading the tournament and then shooting 279 in the title match to win the U.S. Open. And so that Monday, the phones are ringing off. Everybody's calling Brunswick that wants that ball. If it's the other way around, if it's just a mediocre beginning, then maybe I'm a mediocre beginning, and the things. So you never know, and you look back and you go, "Wow, that was really lucky it happened at this time and place."
And not to mention, Dad, for anybody that hasn't seen the title match of the 77 U.S. Open, Dad versus Bill Spigner, we bowled a great game against you. We bowled a really, really solid 230. But watch that LT 48 go down the lane and imagine being a spectator. Yeah. Watch how much of that ball, watch how hard he's throwing the ball on that show, and watch how much that ball is curving in 1977. No wonder the phones are ringing off the hook, not to mention the victory, and obviously everybody knew you in 1977. I mean, you were already an icon.
But you're right, John. It was and it was just special, and it's one of those things you don't think about it right then and there. It happens years later. You go, wow, that was really, really important, a very important part of my life right there. And memories are great. You got to keep the memories. John, incidentally, where are you on the screen? Because you're not showing up. That everything is blank there. I don't think it's supposed to be, is it?
He's here with us.
That's weird. I can see him.
You can't see me?
Oh, shit, we see him.
I can see you. I can see Rob. I can't see John. I don't know where he is.
I had the same problem, Rob. It's probably your freaking streaming shit.
Dad, don't worry about it, because everybody else can. So just keep listening to my voice.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
That's a good idea what he looks like, I think. Right. Oh, by the way, I had a mask on top. So it's Ocho this whole time. Nobody even knew. It's from Mardi Gras.
I don't know. Without the mask.
Are you still on staff, even though you're retired from the sport?
Me? I'm not. I'm with Brunswick. I'm still on Brunswick and still working for them, and I'm still going to bowl a little bit this year. And it's just.
Dad, Dave wants to know, when did you sign with Brunswick?
In 1971, the spring of 71. So it's been
Brunswick longer than I've been alive.
Yeah,
2 years before Ocho has been alive.
Yeah,
and there's a perfect example that is a great story. I had that. I don't know. It's been on the show about that, but what had happened was
please share it. This is a good one.
It was where I got calls after the winter tour from AMF and Ebonite and then Brunswick. And I was Dick Weber was my hero. And when I got offered that and saying, well, I could do exhibitions with Dick Weber and so forth. And then Brunswick called, and instead of offering me a contract like the first two did, the guy says, John, I'm Larry Parker with Brunswick, and I'd like to talk to you. And I said, sure. And I'm waiting to hear him make me an offer, but he doesn't. And he says, how about we have dinner tomorrow in a restaurant in Brooklyn, one of your favorite places? And I said, yeah, I'll fly in from Chicago. And he says, bring your parents. And okay. And the four of us had dinner together. It was a great dinner. We discussed Brunswick's goals, what they wanted to see the company do, my goals, what I was looking for. And it was a really nice meeting, but contract was never mentioned. And he told me, he said, I'll be in touch, and he left and went back. And when he, when I was going home with my parents, my father said, well, I guess I know who you're going to sign with. And I said, yeah, Dad, I'm going to probably sign with AMF. And he said, well, I would think about that. And I said, you would? He said, listen, this dinner had nothing to do with whether or not you wanted to be with Brunswick. It had everything to do with, are you the kind of person they wanted on their staff? And He said, the company that's more interested in you than just throwing strikes is the company you signed with. And so the next day, Larry called, and I ended up signing with Brunswick instead of AMF's. And look at how it turned out. I'm still with Brunswick, and AMF doesn't exist anymore. It's so many lucky things happen in my life.
Shit.
That is amazing. That really is.
Yeah, that's
that's the oldest.
right there.
That's like the oldest bowling company. I mean, they started in the 1880s making balls and equipment.
Yeah, earlier they started, 1880s, 1890s, and they were on the board of putting together all the rules that when the first ABC tournament happened in 1905, and it was after that Jimmy Smith, who had shot in the first decade, the first two 1900s in the ABC for all events, and nobody else had shot a 900 except him. And then he went on a barnstorming tour for Brunswick, where he ended up crossing the country and bowling 12,000 games in exhibitions.
Wow!
And really got us going. He was the star of that first decade. Remember, those people are learning the sport, and every generation after that is learning the sport from the one before him, who are 4 or 5 generations back. And so that's when you look today at the two-handers, and you realize that Belmonte was something special. And now there's a bunch of Belmontes coming, and there's going to be a heck of a lot more over the next 10 years. So the sport is constantly changing, and you never know what is going to develop out of something. And, I think that after Anthony Simonson winning that one tournament where he's throwing the backup ball,
yeah.
Well, what's going to happen from that is there's going to be the generation that's coming up where there's not only going to be a bowler that can do that, but there's going to be an ambidextrous bowler that can play the lanes both ways, left-handed and right-handed.
True.
And especially never worry about chopping the spare, because he could bowl either way and always play the spare the way
Remember that pitcher for the Expos that got the 6-handed glove so he could throw left-handed, or he could pitch left-handed or right-handed? We're probably going to see that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, something like that. And the game is going to change again. You don't know exactly what's coming, but all of a sudden it's going to be there. And I'm sure that people are filming AJ Tackett to find out how he's creating the amount of how he opens up the pocket and how he's covering the boards, that no matter where the lane is playing, he can play in almost the same place every week. It's
true. And throw resin with 550 plus revs. I mean,
it's you know what? And in my, it's still my generation, but me growing up, I always wanted to emulate Jason Couch and Robert Smith for the exact same reasons. The amount of revolutions they could get on a ball with that efficiency of motion to the line that EJ has. But then, like, when you talk to guys, like we talked to Amleto last week, Amleto flat out said Mark Roth was his idol. I know you grew up loving Don Carter and Dick Weber. I obviously grew up loving, aside from you, I love guys like Couch, Parker, Duke, Pete, Walter. Obviously Robert Smith, and it seems like like you just said, every generation not only follows the generation prior, but each generation prior has added some kind of information for the next generation, which is why we continually say the greatest are always going to be the greatest.
Yep.
But the batch out there now, everybody is really, really, really good now.
Yep.
Like they all have that info now.
Yeah, tremendous talent out there, and it's coming from them learning from the time that they're 7 or 8 years old now, and they have replay, they have videos they can follow, they have great coaching. And if you go back to the 1930s, what did they have? They certainly didn't have anything like that.
True.
They'd have to find a coach that could to get advantage.
Yeah, to find a bowling alley. Really.
Yeah.
Somebody set the pins. We didn't have the
So,
machines back then.
Yeah.
And each generation is going to get better on whatever the reason. That but the athletics of them are going to be terrific. And do you know there's Parker and I have a scholarship league on Friday nights, and we've watched the talent grow where kids that start off are good, and 5 years later they're a little bit better, and then there's the kids that hardly could bowl, and 5 years later they're superstars in their high schools, and you never know where it's coming from. You don't know whether it's coming from the girls or boys. You don't know whether it's coming from the two-handers. It's just it's what makes it so exciting, and to watch somebody grow into a really talented player that can bowl on the tour.
Junior, let's. I'd be remiss if we didn't just take a few minutes to talk about the impact that your dad has had through Brunswick and signing literally some of the greatest players we've ever seen, play the game. I mean, it's remarkable how many people, especially Parker and guys like that will look up to and say, I wouldn't be where I was without Johnny Petraglia. I mean, it's just,
that happened with when they said, the staff only has three guys. They got you, Dave Davis, and Dave Sutar, who, by the way, is going to be 85 in 2 days. And Judy Sutar, who was two-time bowler of the year on the staff, and they had said, the staff's getting long in the tooth here. We need to hire some people and tell us who you think we should go after. Come back in a month and say I should do this. I don't need a month. I said right now you should go after Randy Peterson, Amleto Monticelli, and Parker Bone. You better get them now because they're not going to be, unsigned for long. And they went after them, and all three of them signed. And a few years later, through a different deal, Randy ended up getting the shot on television. He was there, and Amleto's with Brunswick, and Parker has always been with Brunswick. It's been there.
Yeah.
So it's worked out. Let's put it that way.
I would say so. Yeah. And Leto said last week it was a dream of his because Brunswick was huge in Venezuela, and to be able to come here to the States and get on the tour and then sign with Brunswick, he said it was really the greatest thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest things that happened to Brunswick too, because he's a sweetheart, and he's really he's a special guy in on the staff. Him and Parker especially are he
opened a lot of people's eyes yesterday, just talking about his brain and the way that last week, just the way that his brain operates so innately, so subconsciously. He doesn't even have to practice what I have to practice every single shot that I throw, whether it's in practice, league, or tournaments. He attributed a lot to Zen and a lot of reading and honestly, the same way that I attribute most of my success to you, he contributed most of his success to the way what his father instilled in him also growing up. But it was very, very uplifting to listen to Amleto speak, and it's no wonder why he's been as great as he has been for as long as he has been.
Yeah, and how much he concentrates on staying in shape. When we bowl Bill Moore's tournament, a few of us get to stay at Bill's house. Parker's and Amleto's one of them, and to watch him make breakfast every morning, which is like a half-hour task. Everything has to be exactly the same every morning, and the vegetables and fruit have to be the right combination and so forth. It's somebody that really loves the game and puts it all together. He's a special guy.
Absolutely,
he really is. It was such another learning experience, like Johnny said. Like he took us through his thoughts as he was going through it, and how mentally prepared he was, not just physically, but I mean, he was in the zone. You never saw him get mad. You never saw him yell at anybody. You never saw him kick a ball return. I mean, he was
something. Yeah,
the kid was in the zone the whole time, and he was just a good-looking kid. I mean, he was the face of the tour for a while.
Dad, we're talking about Amleto and health, but truth be told, you were always in tip-top shape out on tour. Did you ever follow? I know not many are as strict as Amleto is, but did you make sure you did certain things to stay in shape, stay away from certain things? Because you were always in great shape on tour. You were always strong in the lower body, always had great legs, good speed to the line.
Yeah.
How did you like maintain that for all those years out on the road? What did you have any tricks or anything?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't call it a trick, but what happened was when I was in Vietnam, my platoon sergeant was a black belt, and when we'd be back in base camp, he wanted to stay in shape, and he told anybody in the platoon, "You want to work out? I'm going to be working out," and I started to learn from him, and he had told me that he says when you get back home and you look for a dojo, he says you want to get a dojo that's heavy into forms and not too much street technique. He says and especially stretching. Those are the two big things. He says you keep your body stretching, and then you get into forms which will help your concentration on bowling. You put the two of them together, it's going to help you with your bowling a lot. And he was exactly right. So for the next 20-something years, I was heavy into martial arts, and it worked for sure over all of those years. And you realize how much it worked because I'm considered by the VA 80% disabled because of my exposure to Agent Orange. So if you go back and look and say I was able to stay in this kind of shape while Agent Orange is running through my body, obviously what he told me meant so much and how much it really helped me.
Sure.
So and it did. And then I guess in my mid 50s, it just wasn't, I just couldn't seem to get excited about doing it much anymore. I was on the senior tour more than I was on the national tour, and things slowed down a little bit there, but I should have kept it up longer than I did, and things might have been even better. I mean, it's been a great life, but it might have been a little bit better if I would have stuck with it a little longer.
Yeah, this is coming from the guy who's won titles in 6 decades.
Right. Yeah.
If I won my first PBA title today, I have to live to 90 something to tie it. and then still,
you just turned 78, JP. How you feeling today?
I'm okay for 78.
Right?
Like my friend Roger says to me, so how does it feel? He says, how did he put it exactly? He said, how does it feel circling the sun 78 times? That's pretty interesting. That was funny.
It's
I mean, we know the knee bend isn't quite there, which should
you've had to adapt,
right. But I mean,
I'm a shell of what I used to be. Let's get that straight. It's things don't bend the way they're supposed to, and
right.
Yeah, but that's why. And remember, what you said was it's not about the money, it's the legacy. And that's why that's all in place, because they can never take that shit away. And not only that, with YouTube, with all this shit now, my God. Man, if I had YouTube when we were palling around at the pub afterwards, I'd have known all this stuff.
Yeah, you're an idiot, Ouch. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I'm a jacked idiot, and that's what's important.
I have to ask you then, what was it like to bowl league with Ocho? I mean, he's a hack.
He's, as he told you at the beginning when I bowled on the same team with him, where, when I went up to him and said, you keep going through the nose, what are you looking at? I said, suggest the lane's breaking down. You're going to have to move in 4 and 2. And he says, 4 and 2 what?
I thought he was doing math. I said 6 what?
Absolutely no idea what he's looking at, or whether he hits it or not doesn't seem to matter. But here's
what he figured out. He said your first game you're averaging 228. Did you know that? I said I didn't know that. He said your second game is 210. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Your third game is 182. I said I didn't know that.
he would drop 40 pins in average from game 1 to game 3 because he would be so hammered in game 3.
Listen, I figured the more pins you see, the more you're going to hit. I have since realized maybe there's only 10.
Yeah.
Ocho's the only one that gets
some
worse
good
as the night goes on. That's hilarious.
I was going to say, the reason I hate alcohol so much is my average goes up 20 pins a game.
Oh, shit. Well, you're the anomaly because the stats were there. And I looked it up, and I was like, he's freaking right. He doesn't 182 in the third game. Shit, I'm detriment.
He doesn't know what he's looking at.
And that too. That's the other part.
And doesn't even want to learn about it. And I'm thinking, and this is the same guy taking X-rays of me. Just.
Oh, that I know. That I know. Look, if I saw pins in the X-ray, I could diagnose it. I just can't see them when they're on the lane.
I'm telling you, it's so.
I gotta add something here to toot my own horn, but I want to throw it in here before I forget.
Yeah.
Dad was talking about memories frozen in time. So at the opening of the show, you played the video of us giving Dad his cake, and obviously, basically the entire league stayed because obviously.
Sure.
But it just happened to be one of those nights where a group of guys wanted to bowl for money after league. So I just got done bowling 726, and we wound up bowling 3 doubles matches. Me and my buddy Frankie Gagliano won the third game, so we were actually up a little bit of money. And then the last game went to a singles, and they doubled the entry. And sure enough, of course, Dad goes home before me on tonight of all nights. This is his birthday on Monday. And I not only win the last pot in the action match, but I bowled 300 on Dad's birthday.
Oh, wow. That's so cool, dude. I didn't know that.
Even though it wasn't the league, they still made an announcement. Some random open bowlers came up and said they'd never seen that before. And you talk about memories frozen in time. Yeah. And now I remember, I will never, ever forget that I bowled 300 on Dad's 78.
No, so, dude, this is the best unsanctioned 300. Like, that's what's so cool about it. When you told me, I was like, that's the best unsanctioned 300 ever.
Your birthday is ordained, I guess.
I was getting really tired. It was a long day. And I just,
I just turned 78 for Christ's sakes, man. Action bowling. Well, it wasn't like back in the day when you were a young kid, JP Senior. So like the action bowling was probably 3 a.m. or something.
I was gonna say, Johnny, I'm glad you brought up action because I've always wanted to ask your dad about some cool action stories. Anything off the top of your head, JP, that bowling action back in the day, whether it's back in Carolier or in Brooklyn
for you.
It wasn't Carolier. This was Brooklyn shit.
There's 100 stories I could go on all night.
Think of a couple that just off the top of your head that people.
I'm not sure he can tell you.
Dad, you talk as long as you want to.
I bowled Ernie Schlegel a home and home match back then for $10,000, and
wow.
5 games.
He was known as the action guy too, right? That was like
And I had a few $100 bet, and everything else came from friends and loan sharks and stuff.
You said it already.
So we started in his house, and he was so sure he's going to beat me. 5 games in his house, 5 games in mine, and I found a shot that really worked for me, and I ended up winning in his house by 6 pins, and now he's going to my center. And
over 5 games, it's only 6 pins.
Only 6 pins, but that was his home house.
Wow.
And then we get
okay. The shot, I got you.
We're bowling. I grew up in a 12-laner under a movie theater, and they oiled the lanes gutter to gutter for 60 feet, and Ernie threw a full roller at that time. So
oh wow.
I mean, he could leave the 5.8 when he hit the pocket. The ball
could he even hit the pocket with that kind of friggin' oil, though?
So it was pretty easy to win, and it was there was a real good action spot there. But
real quick, was that known that like the home house advantage and all that stuff, like because like
people
didn't
bowl people in other centers. Because if the guy wants to bowl you in his center, he must really.
He's gonna lay his track out. Obviously, I would think.
When they had there was Central Lanes in upstate New York, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The action it was like a 52-lane house, and you could bowl a match on every pair at times, and bowl for tremendous amounts of money. Loan sharks all over the place, lending you the money to bowl. Hopefully,
with the gun on top of the money, probably at times.
Well, the loan sharks made a fortune because
but there was no machines though, right? Was the oil machine, or was there like a?
Oh, come on!
It was a sprayer gimmick, right? Like you're pumping the shit and like.
This is There's no pin boys or anything. This is
okay. All right, so it's
and
okay,
the loan sharks would let you like 100 for 110, and then you would borrow the money, beat the other guy, and then you'd have to pay back the 110, and that guy would go to the loan shark, borrow the money you just beat him from, and if he got lined up again and then beat you, the only one that made money was the loan shark. He handed you the money.
The juice, yep. It's Robert Peter to pay Paul, and then the shark makes all the freaking juice.
And there was
man, that's such a lost art. That's so
it is. It was really a fun time to watch the matches, and Richie Hornroy was a tremendous talent back then, and great in action bowler. So was Mike Lemongello. They were really big, Ernie had a reputation, but these two guys were better. Ernie is a great bowler, but in action they were really special. They were great. And Jeff Kidder who never even thought about trying the tour, was always extremely tough to beat. And a lot of,
I gotta figure it's a different monster when it's action bowling, because rather than the tour where there's 48 games, there's the whole structure of it, where action bowling is okay.
You can make more money in action.
1 a.m. We're all in the bowling alley and let's do this shit.
Yeah,
I mean, you can make more. Sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
You borrow $500 from a loan shark, and you get out there in the first games for $500, and then you lose.
Oh shit!
You got one more game, and then and then you don't strike. You're going home, and you owe the loan shark $500. You do strike, maybe you turn it around, and the guy you bowled has got to go borrow money. It was.
Were they at least like? I mean, if you know somebody, were they at least like, okay, you're good for it? I'll float you, or are they like, okay, no, you? I mean,
you could do that with a loan shark, but not with the other guy you were bowling.
Of course, no. That's what I know. I mean, that's what I meant. The loan shark, like
with the loan shark,
I'm good for it. He knows you.
What they would do is that there would be a vig on it. Let's just say you borrowed $100. Okay, you had to pay back 110 the following week.
Yeah, just like any gambling vig, right?
When you saw him, and then when you go in and you hadn't made any money or anything, the vig was $10. So you would give him the $10, and I'll pay you next week, and you still owed him 110. And
that tacked on it each time.
That could go on for 10 weeks.
Yes,
it just keeps collecting your $10, and you still owe 110. And if
but at that point you're giving them $410 at this point.
Right.
But they were okay with that though. Like, I mean, I guess if you knew them, they knew you.
Yeah, like for instance, we had a guy in Bay Ridge Lanes that a lot of loan sharks were there too in Brooklyn, and he was a really nice kid and a very practical kind of guy. Yeah, and he borrowed money from a loan shark and to bowl action, and did it a couple of weeks in a row, and he owed a lot of money, and he couldn't pay it back. And finally, the loan shark said to him, "I like you a lot. You're a good guy and all that." He says, "But this can't continue. I can't have you having nothing happen to you while you still owe me this money and you don't pay me each week, and the bill just keeps going up. So I have to have something next week. My reputation can't afford to have you."
That's where I'm getting at.
And he came in the next week, and as soon as the guy looked at him, he knew he didn't have any money. He goes, "Go into the bathroom." And he went into the bathroom, and then a couple of minutes later, the loan shark comes out and walks away, but the guy doesn't. We go, "Oh my God, this what happened?" And we go running in there, and he's got his head over the sink. He's holding his head. He's bleeding from his head, and said, "What happened? What happened?" He said, "Well, he he had to do something, so he hit me with a shot and he opened it up here and I'm bleeding, but I'll be okay. And I said, but what else happens? And he goes, well, then, next week, if I don't have any money, he's going to have to break my arm. And
This is the shit.
That's what he said. And he goes, and it's the right thing to do. The guy's a businessman. He's got to do this. I understand that.
It's like how Rocky didn't break the guy's thumb in Rocky 1.
Yeah, he said, I got like 7 days to come up with money so I don't get a broken arm. And he totally understands that, to the point where the loan shark feels so bad, he doesn't even know he can.
He's like, listen, I'm sorry I'm going to split your head open, but listen, this is what has to happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell people that if you do borrow money, and that's his own fault too, but that was kind of understood also, though.
I mean, it's no different than bookies back in the day. It's the same thing.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's his own fault for getting caught in that. And was
he
he a good bowler at least?
Well,
not action, obviously.
In action, there were guys. Well, it was crazy back then. They were just.
How much money did you win from him?
No, I never bowled him.
You would have cleaned the clock. You probably would have done if you bowled him.
If you had to deal with the head split.
Yeah, I never bowled anybody in Bay Ridge Lanes. We're all friends. We're the ones that would go to bowl people.
I got you.
Brad, just to put it in perspective for people that don't know much about action bowling, obviously action is not what it used to be. Going back to your era, going back to like the Rudy Revs era, and me personally, my biggest sniff of action would be when I would drive to Van Ness Lanes in the Bronx, right next to the old Yankee Stadium, and I would go bowl against the Judge and John Rubio and guys.
Jerome Avenue over there that way?
Like right across from Yankee Stadium, there was a little 16-lane bowling alley. The guy that had the pro shop, his nickname was the Judge. His real name was Joe Abruzzi, one of the best action bowlers that I know of. And his pro shop inside the bowling alley was called the Judge's Bench. It had over-the-top ball returns, no automatic scoring. It was a dungeon. I absolutely.
I know the house. I remember it.
It was. And
it sounds like Philadelphia Veterans Stadium almost.
But Dad, earlier when I was off camera, you had mentioned guys like Jeff Kidder and guys like Mike Lemongello, and you're viewed as one of the best action bowlers of all time. What separated those guys when it came to bowling for money? What made them so good at action bowling?
That's it all comes down to who's good in the clutch. That was really it, because when you're you got practically no money in your pocket and you need a strike to win the game,
your ass has to pucker so bad right there.
Up right there. If you don't, if you can't perform when you really need it, then you're not going to be a good action bowler, and people aren't going to bet on you. People are going to stay away. It's you knew who could bowl in the clutch, and go
ahead. You had one of the most historic matches that's still talked about to this day. I don't remember who he was bowling with, but I know it was you and Mark Roth versus Jeff Kidder and somebody else.
Bill Daly.
And I remember that it was such a sought after match that they set up like PBA television bleachers at the bowling alley for this match.
I don't think it went that far, but what they did do is they took oil off the lanes on both sides of the pair we were bowling on, so guys could sit all the way down to the pins because they put us like in a horseshoe to bowl that match. That was a lot of fun.
That had to be awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's funny is I was going to ask you this about the 300 because it relates to what we're talking about action bowling. And again, I have some of your DNA, so I'm curious. Like me personally, whether I'm bowling 150 or 250 heading into the 10th frame, my mindset changes in the 10th frame. Yeah. I like it's crazy. I think I'm polar opposite of most people. I worry more about the first, third, and fifth frame. I worry more about having 68 in the fourth frame and knowing I have to sheet for 248 rather than getting up in the 10th frame and knowing that I need 2 or 3 in the 10th to win the game. It's almost like I don't have time to think in that situation. So like I always, like the same way when I was playing baseball, I always wanted to be in the batter's box with the game on the line.
Right.
I always want to be in the 10th frame with a chance to double to win the game. Whereas I guess it's because I have less time to think, and everything just kind of shuts down. And like you said, that last shot of the 300, the only thing you were thinking about is give it room and make sure you get down at the foul line. Do you find throughout the course of a game that you stay pretty steady mentally, or do you find parts where it becomes almost easier?
I think that what happens is that later on in the game, if the shot is extremely important, that you can always draw on your best moment in the sport, whatever the sport, baseball, whatever it is. And it can be, for me, I was lucky enough to have the 298 fairly early in the career, and then the 300 later on, late in the career, where it could be, I need a strike to win in a match, on not just on TV, but in match play or the league or whatever. And if you get up and you get up in the tent and say, hey, I threw a shot for $100,000, where it was not like winning a tournament. It was $100,000 or nice try. If I can throw a strike for that, this is nothing. I can make a good shot here. But the thing to understand more than anything else is that if you don't throw the strike, or if the ball goes high or something like that, it's you know in your heart, I didn't choke. I just made a bad shot. Just like I made a bad shot 2 games ago in the 4th frame. And once you get that deep in your head, then it becomes much, much easier at the later part of the game to throw a strike.
That's a really, really, really good answer. It's kind of how I feel too. I like you said, you draw back to moments in time where you did do something right in that situation. One of the biggest things I do is something you told me ever since I was a kid, and I've never forgotten it, and I've never stopped practicing it. You have always told me, visualize the perfect shot and know that you already threw it before you even throw it, and now just throw it so you can show everybody else how pretty it is.
You say, we're already struck. I just got to let the ball go so everybody else knows it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I still, in every single pressure situation I'm in to this day, I think of either a video or a moment where I'm actually watching myself from behind execute the perfect shot, and then I'll get up there and I'll say, like, I'm the king of Majestic right now. I bowl so well at Majestic. Right. And I have all my videos from all my honor scores this year, but there's 2 in particular that, like, when I'm aiming, I'll say New Blue Hammer Majestic, or I'll say Defender Hybrid Carolier, because I'm thinking about the video of myself from behind throwing the perfect shot before I even go. And then all I think about is like trying to mimic the video.
Yeah, well, that's it. And you've always, especially recently, the more that you're bowling, the more you throw really good shots in the 9th and 10th frame. And that's, you're doing just fine, John. You're okay. You just need to be on tour, which is what you should be trying to do once in a while.
I fucking said that.
You've been saying that for the last 4 years.
Johnny, Senior, listen, last year around February-ish or March-ish, and he came over one time and I said, dude, let me just ask you something. Just what if you had a sponsor, you went out, and you kind of like, not, you didn't MF me, you were like, I don't know, man, I'm doing my thing, and but then you got in your head a little bit, and you were like, plus I don't, and I'm like, dude, I swear to God, I don't think you'll be fucking complete until that's.
Honestly, I think about it frequently.
You didn't MF me. You were just like, come on, we're just hanging out. I'm
gonna give you a perfect answer, and this is the truth for me. I haven't been to the gym this year. I haven't gone to the gym since January 1st. That is the first time. That is the first time in the last 7 years that I have been out of the gym for more than a month. But my commitment when I am in the gym to not only every single day, my commitment to all the parts of it, the amino acids, the nutrition, the eating healthy, the eating even when I don't want to eat to get
The
what
metabolism, the meals every 3 hours, the prep, the fucking
right.
I get it.
I would have to take that mentality and incorporate it in all phases to bowling. I would have to understand more about vowels and paps. I would have to understand more about layouts and surfaces. I would have to learn. I would have to be in the bowling alley the way that I've been committed to the gym. Now, right. I don't have any children, but I do have a dog, which is my child. So that's another thing. It's like, what I just like, I can't take her with me. So that's another thing. There's the underlying circumstances as to why I haven't ever really committed to a full life on tour. Some personal and some not personal reasons.
I mean, I wasn't talking now. I'm just saying, just to
like even I will say this, even at 40 years old, I'm not afraid to bowl against the kids because I'm still talented enough, agile enough. I have dad's genes. I still am in good enough shape that I can go out, especially since I don't use my thumb. I never have any hand trouble. True. So I could bowl 100 games a day without question.
Easily.
It's no problem.
Although I did see your finger gashed up that one time when you came over, right?
It's
still fun.
It's still new skinned up. It's still new skinned up. But I've thought about it a million times. I truly believe that if I went out there steady for a few years, that I would make a few shows. I think once like I was saying earlier about I think I would be the greatest showman in the world if I ever made television.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know I would be nervous, but I harness nervousness a little bit differently than a lot of people I know. For me, the most nerve-wracking thing is, oh my God, it's the 42nd game. All I need to do is bowl 180 and I qualify 5th. That's more nerve-wracking to me than bowling on television.
Now it's all systems go. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I've only said this to him one time because, again, look, we've known each other for a long time, but the last few years we're super tight. We talk all the time. But that was the one time I was even nervous to ask you, but I said, I don't know, man. I feel like is there just some self-fulfilling prophecy that is still deep in there to do it? And I never said it again too, but I promise you know that. It was just something that I was like,
it is something that has never left my brain, Ocho.
I didn't think it did either, and that's why I knew I'd spark it.
I definitely want to make one PBA telecast once in my life. I really, really, really do. I just want to bowl on TV one time.
All right. Well, you got to bowl the tournament to be able to do that. So
I'll go with Robert Lawrence, World Series of Bowling 2026.
There you go.
I'll take maybe I'll take a chance out there. We'll see.
It was actually a year ago, right around this time. I swear to God, I can bring it up in the chat. I promise. But that's why it was just that's so funny that you said that, JP Senior. That's wild, man. I think because we see the talent, we see the ability and what his fucking brain. Jesus, he knows every bowling ball. He can, and when he says I get into the workout, I'm so disciplined, and he's already disciplined in bowling that he knows every goddamn tournament from the last 40 years, who bowled with what ball, who used what layout, and I even have to dummy him down and say hey, talk for the amateurs. When you're doing the where the CG something or other is, and that's the same thing with 4 and 2. I get it. But
Junior, knowing your dedication,
and so that's it would almost be second nature. I feel like because that's already in there.
Ocho show
Go ahead, Rob.
It's the Ocho show tonight. You haven't shut up the whole fucking night.
You're damn fucking right it is. You're damn fucking right, John Sperone.
Johnny, knowing the way your brain works and how
are you asking me or Dad?
Junior. Oh. Knowing how your brain works and how OCD you are, I know you would absolutely 1,000% be able to focus on that if you put your brain to it.
That's what I was saying.
And you would accomplish everything that you wanted to.
My brain has matured in bowling. For anybody that knows me, especially the last 4 or 5 years, I never, ever, ever get mad at anything. And if I do, I walk away, whether it's to the bathroom or outside. I take my 2 minutes. I come back in. I don't care how many stone 8s I leave, how many ring 10s, how many blower 7-10s. I'm very, very, very calm and collective when I bowl now. I was not like that when I was younger. I was a little bit of a hothead. I felt like I had something to prove to absolutely everybody. And now going into a bowling alley with the mentality I have now, where I'm kind of just nonchalantly going through the motions, but still trying to kick everybody's ass that I bowl against.
Right.
I'm performing better now because I'm not trying as hard to make everybody think I'm the best.
Yeah.
I know I'm one. For instance, Howell Lanes last year, when I came home from Vegas, it's the lowest season average I've had in bowling for the last 10 years. And by the way, Dad, as soon as I'm done with this story, I'll let you go because we've kept you for almost 2 hours. When I walked into Howell Lanes last year, I've always had a bugaboo with Howell Lanes. I'm never, ever, ever comfortable in that building. And I had my lowest season average since I was 16. I averaged 222. It's my lowest average in a league.
Oh, you had me by a stick.
In almost 20 years. This year, I came to Howell Lanes, and I'm still unsure of what's going to happen when I'm bowling. But this year, I'm 233 at Howell Lanes, and I'm second high average in the league. And I'm not even nearly as comfortable on Monday nights as I am on Tuesday nights at Majestic. And at Majestic, I'm only 238, and I'm also second or third in that league because it's a much more favorable lane condition on both sides of the lane. But even just jumping 10 pins in league in a building that I struggled in for an entire season is uplifting for me mentally, you know? So I'm in a good spot mentally when it comes to bowling. I understand a little bit more about myself. And now when I get into funks, I know exactly what's causing the funks. I know that I get a little bit too steep. I know I throw the ball a little bit downhill. I know I grab it from the top. I know my knee is not as bent as it should be. I'm aware of it as it's happening, and it's a quick fix.
Dude, real quick, have you had a 3/4 month run like you've had in a long time? Because you're literally unconscious.
I hit a stretch when I was in Vegas when I was full blown. This is when I quit drinking for almost 2 years. I would walk into the bowling alley. I had my protein shake in one pocket. I had my energy bar or my protein bar in the other pocket. I would put my T-zone on my left shoulder and my shoes in my right hand, and I would walk into South Point. I'd go
with
right
that ball, and that's it.
Right past the bars, right past the casino. And for 2 years, I averaged just over 240 with the T-zone at South Point in both the regular bowling alley and the plaza. So that was a stint where everything came together because I knew I was doing everything. I was putting nothing but good shit in my body. And every single day I had the exact same thought process.
Don't we know this guy who just chimed in?
Oh, that's the chief. That's Mr. Brian Himmler. We love Brian Himmler. We got to get Brian on this show.
We do.
Matter of fact, I just actually watched his
great guy. You need him. Yeah.
Albuquerque with a Sky Bowl. I think it was 1998, Chief. I think he beat Chris Barnes. It was his first ever TV show.
See?
We'll definitely get him on. And actually, Jeff Skyers hooked me up with Chris Schlemmer. We're going to get him on here in the next few weeks, too. So,
John, guys, I'm
Dad, we understand. We just want to be
crushed it. Johnny, you crushed it, buddy. Thank you so much, man.
You gave us way more than we needed.
Guys.
You had so many people.
I have to do anything to go off this now?
There should be a button that says leave.
What's that?
There should be a button in the top right corner that says leave.
Leave.
Or I can kick you out.
Or we can just have Rob kick you out.
You know what, JP? Do an outro.
I got you, JP. I got you.
So glad to see you.
Thanks for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it.
Johnny, I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, buddy.
I'll see you tomorrow. I got a sub tomorrow.
You bet. We'll be there, man.
Subbing with Ron Glick. He's subbing with Ron Glick because I screwed up. I said yes to Alex Marks, Ron Glick, and to Nick D'Ambrosio, so I had to tell two of them that I screwed up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'll see you bowling with Ron Glick.
That should be fun. Okay.
All right, I'll see you, buddy.
All right.
Take care.
Fucking Ron Glick. And I said, he always does this. Well, I work at, where does he work, Johnny?
Hamilton Lanes.
Hamilton Lanes. Oh, I got to do the soda fountains, and I can't be on there. It's a fucking Wednesday. What the fuck?
We had another 60 strong just hanging out the whole time here.
He's actually such a good guy.
We love Ron. We really.
He's such a good guy. He's such a good guy.
Another
such
epic
small
night.
doses.
Another epic night with Dad, and I love the response from people from all across the bowling world. We had guys like, first off, we had Uncle John Laspina.
Yep.
Here, I know we had Robert Lawrence in here. We obviously just had an appearance from the Chief.
Yep.
But a lot of new faces popped in today just to say hi. Obviously, Steve Sakis, we love him to death. But no, like Dad's stories. Bill, that was a really, really nice comment you said earlier, and I know he feels the exact same way about you. So I'm definitely glad that we got to cross paths because of your relationship with Dad. So thank you for that message too. Dad really is the best storyteller in the world because he's so intricate. He gives you enough that you can actually. It's almost like reading a great book rather than watching a great movie. If you read a great book, you can envision yourself in that story. And Dad has an uncanny ability to allow you to enter the story that he's telling.
It's also how genuine he is because he doesn't have this elaborate theme about it. Like he's just like, you're not gonna believe this one. Like kind of like, and it's just like
Brandon?
I'm already in. And then he just paints it forward and forward. Like he's not exuberant with his motions or his voice or anything. He's so even keel at all times. And like then when like the crescendo's there because he'll throw like a little giggle in and you're like, oh fuck, there it is. It's fucking amazing.
And you can tell
I
he
remember
loves
hearing it on the damn bowling channel one time, or on ABC, not ABC, ESPN one time.
You
know
can
what I
tell
mean?
that it still means that much to him, even 31 years later,
It's
right?
fucking
Like
beautiful.
It's and I'd still love to see that passion that comes out. You could tell, even though he's probably told this story 100 times.
He's not tired of it.
He's not tired of it. We don't get tired of it. Nobody gets tired. Like it just.
No, it's
amazing.
It's because we was talking about earlier. There's difference between champions and legends.
Yeah.
Everybody that Dad crossed paths with, he treats with the utmost respect, and people reciprocate that. I know that there's a lot of fucking pieces of shit in this world. I do know that. But if there's one thing that everybody in the world likes, it's when somebody's nice to them and down to earth, especially when they have legendary status.
Sure.
And in the bowling world, Dad is a rock star. He's always been a rock star. But he's always been the approachable rock star. Like, why does everybody love Shaquille O'Neal so much? Because he's approachable and he's one of the best basketball players of all time. Why did everybody love Arnold Palmer? Because he's not only one of the best golfers of all time, he's one of the best human beings to ever walk the planet.
But dude, I'm literally that person. I'm that fucking person. Like I'm literally the guy that was hanging out with him, not even knowing who the fuck. Like that's what I mean. It's a damn and watching and now like of course I
Ocho going on ESPN and seeing ESPN Classic saying Johnny Petraglia. Okay.
That's what it was. And my ex going, you really had no idea who I fucking how. And again, as if we're talking golf, baseball, dumb shit at the bar. It's the fucking most wildest thing, and it's such a hard sell now because we do a bowling podcast. They're gonna be, oh yeah, right. I'm like, it's in there that he's confirmed it, and that's what's the fucked up thing about it is the most down to earth, normal, just who the fuck knew.
But we all got to give credit for Ocho being such a dipshit. That senior just wanted to talk to him, so he wouldn't have to talk about fucking bowling all night.
Conrad's girlfriend, Conrad's wife. Now I didn't know.
Without Ocho, we wouldn't have this show. So
I have a tendency to do that unintentionally. But
who's Conrad?
There's this guy
Thompson,
who's he married Ric Flair's daughter,
and
we were talking one time.
Conrad.
And we were talking. No, where Rob knows. We were talking one time, and she's asking me these anatomical questions or knee and all this shit, and I was like, oh, what does your dad do? Is he a military guy? She's like, no, he's a wrestler. I was like, oh, really? And then she's like, yeah, my dad's Ric Flair. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck, man?
Awesome.
And Conrad is laughing his ass off like, I didn't want to say anything. And she was like, well, I appreciate you talking to me as Megan and not. Anyways, that's a different story. I just have a tendency to do this shit. I'm in my own fucking world, man. I got my own shit. I got my own problems. I do my own fucking thing. I stumble into areas, and then I wreak havoc. And then I have your dad.
So guys, for everybody watching, we've been trying to not curse for the last 2 weeks.
No. You guys have not been trying to curse.
In the last 5 minutes, I feel like Ocho's trying to cover for lost time.
Nope.
He's dropped at least a
Ocho never said he wasn't going to curse.
At least
you literally called his dad a motherfucker.
No. Ocho never said he wasn't going to curse. You fuckers did.
No, I know. Next week we'll be back on it.
And Rob made it 4 seconds in the first show last week.
Yeah, I'm tired.
For real, happy birthday to Dad, 78 years young, and
yes.
Still going strong. Still working his butt off every single day in the bowling alley. As he said earlier, very much involved with the BVL. Always has been. Has the Kids Scholarship League, which is producing some wonderful, wonderful players, all going off to college on scholarships, and then especially the action stories.
Fucking so sick, dude.
Anybody that's ever bowled action, if you ever want to hit me up personally, I can tell you a lot more, even more in-depth, awesome stories for both myself and for Dad. One more from Robert Lawrence. Again, this is a U.S. Open champion right here, Rob. So I'm going to read every single comment, not to mention one of the greatest people you'll ever meet. Love, Robert. You're a legend when non-bowlers hear your name and know who you are. That's Weber, Carter, Earl, and in that list is Johnny Petraglia. And thank you for that, Robert, very, very much.
Robert, do you ever want to come on the show, too? I'm sure you got plenty of stories.
Love to walk through Robert's career. I would love to walk through that 92 U.S. Open, man, especially. Anybody that's ever put on that jacket, I would love to hear everything.
I want to hear the production stories. I'm a production guy. I'm a video nerd. So, I mean, I'd love to hear stories about working for ABC as well. So
perfect.
Make it happen, Robert. Send me or Johnny a message on Facebook.
We can certainly make that happen, Robert.
But yeah, no, like I said, we got Chris Schlemmer coming up here soon. He's having surgery the week after next, so maybe it would have to be April. We're working feverishly to get Belmo on the show next week. Obviously, they just won the Rotholman doubles with Bill O'Neill. He was leading the pack this week to kick off the WSOB. Yeah, he's Belmo's killing it right now. So we haven't tentatively booked for next week, but we may have to play with times, whatever, because they're on the West Coast. They're 3 hours behind the East Coast. So by the time we go on, it's only 5 o'clock there. He might be bowling B squad. We don't know yet, but he's gonna try to work with us to come on. So we're looking to have Jason Belmonte back on the show next week. I talked to Tim Mack a couple days ago. He's booked solid through the WSOB and then Detroit April 1st. So we're going to get him on after that as well. He definitely wants to be on the show. So we have a lot of great guests that are coming up here in the next couple of months. It's going to be a big year for us. I really believe that this is going to be our year to break through and really gain some steam. And we can't do it without you guys. We appreciate everybody showing up here every single week. We had 60 people strong here watching all night, listening to the GOAT.
The fact that you guys stay here for 2 hours, I know that like when I'm scrolling through TikTok or I'm watching shit, I don't have an attention span that's as long as our guests do here. So we must bring something to the table that you guys and girls enjoy, and we just appreciate it so much. So
and now the imbecile of the week. Lloyd, every time I think you can't do something dumber.
We don't have time for that, but I mean, I do have a good one. Actually, there's somebody making fun of.
No, the imbecile of the week is John Sperone.
Oh, John Sperone. No,
John
actually,
Sperone, you make fun of Rob. You do not make fun of Ocho. Do you hear me?
There's a thread I need to clip. People talking shit about Mikey Lichtenstein. Speaking of his dad tonight, Larry, about his bowling style and people calling him retarded, and it's gonna be juicy. So,
good. I'll say something about that.
Yes, we're gonna get into that next week.
Just real
John
quick,
Sperone, the imbecile of the week. Congratulations.
He just shot a 300 last week. He's
just
still
real quick. Shut up, real quick.
All right, I'm done.
Anybody that's talking shit about Mike Lichtenstein, I want to know how many megabuck events you've won.
How many high rollers?
Because I know that Litchie's won not only the mini eliminator and the high roller twice, and the international eliminator. So it's just kind of gross to me that somebody would even call out somebody's unorthodox game. Why don't you just go fuck yourself, bro?
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, you got a week to prepare for that.
I'm assuming that's what our guy said. Can we just mute somebody in the chat? I'm assuming that's who he was talking about.
No. This was a Facebook.
Oh, I thought it was somebody in our chat tonight.
No, I'm following New England Bowling on Facebook, and they showed a video of him shooting 300 last week, and the people in the comments were just disgusting.
Don't they only do Candlepin up there, man? What the fuck?
I thought we'd have a good time with that, but I just got to chop it up. So, anyways.
Sounds good.
CDB is in the house. What's going on, Carolyn? Another person we need to get on the show.
Hi, Carolyn.
As well as Dell,
She
too.
was talking to me.
Shut up. All right. But anyways, guys, appreciate it. Johnny, thanks for getting your dad on tonight on short notice. Fantastic show, as always. I could listen to him all night. He could do a whole show just on action. Like, I really want to get back to some of that shit. I'm glad we got some tidbits, but he could write a book on his recall is still next level.
Dude,
like,
I'm telling you, Netflix is gonna. There's something there, man.
78 years old and still has the total recall that he has. It's fucking stupid. Like that. No, I don't have that.
When you're bowling to freaking not have to pay a loan shark fucking $800 in 1971. Yeah, I'm sure you fucking remember that shit.
That poor guy that got his head bashed, and if he would have bowled your dad,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude,
he would end up in the fucking Hudson River.
Gun on top of the fucking money. Are you shitting me?
He would have been the bottom of the Hudson River if he ever bowled your dad. So,
oh yeah.
Anyways, guys, again, hopefully, cross fingers, Belmo next week. If not, we're gonna be here anyway. Lots to talk about the World Series. Bowling is hot right now, and we haven't been able to cover it as much as we or at all, really. But we'll definitely get. Hey, our guests have been fantastic. Who the fuck cares about the tour right now?
Well, there you go. Don't even fucking sell it.
Anyway, next week, Belmo, guys, love you. We'll see you next week. I'm gonna hit the outro, Nico, if I can find it here somewhere. Johnny, great show as always. Ocho, you still suck. And yeah,
no, that's you, buddy.
We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. You can follow the show on Twitter at Straight Up 5 Pod. Follow Johnny Jr. at JPJR07. Follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. And follow Dr. Ocho at the Dr. Ocho. Got a question for Johnny? Send your questions to straightup5podcast at gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Right here on the